This Sunday. Every Sunday, side by side at the microphone, from the green light to the speed trap, Chris Switzer and Ray Carino calls them as they sees them, and you better believe them. Here, relevant news, biased opinions, and outright bullshit regarding every aspect of automotive culture. Gasp at mechanical trickery never before revealed over FCC-regulated airwaves. Thrill to the explosive tension as Chris and Ray cuss each other down the track and barrel roll across the finish line, laughing at certain disaster as they shake hands for the devil. All that and much more this Sunday at high noon on the MotorMouth Radio Hour. Call in and speak live with the Wizards of Speed and live feed, Chris Switzer and Ray Carino. Bring the whole family. Kids under 12 get in free. Every Sunday at noon on WHPC. Take the Long Island Expressway to the Meadowbrook Parkway and look for the sign saying no parking on the expressway and no express service on the parkway. Go right on Highway 24 to Garden City. $2 all-day parking includes pit pass. Sunday!
I am Santa Claus. Ho, 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 ho.
Flying through the snow, can you hear him? Ho, ho, ho.
I heard him, ho, ho, ho. He's sitting right across from me, ho, 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 up in Canada. You've tuned into MotorMouth Radio, Long Island's own automotive talk show, and Santa Fest here on Long Island and other places. We're on the World Wide Web, and of course, find us anywhere with your hosts, Ray Guarino and his elfin partner, Chris Swift.
I'm feeling very elfin right now.
Are you? You're looking elfin good, let me tell you that.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, we're having an elfin good time right here.
Yes, it's Bob Rivers' time of year again, folks. You know, that's some of our favorite holiday. My older daughter's been infected with this stuff. She said, Dad, you got to make me copies of all those CDs you used to play when I was a kid. This stuff came out when she was young, and I used to just play it over and over, and she's got the right personality for it. Where
you've infected another generation. Congratulations.
Yes. That's our jobs, right? That's our jobs as mentors, as parents, as
yes,
older brothers and sisters, uncles, aunts, whoever you want to be. That's what you're supposed to do. So
it is very funny because my daughter, who is 9, knows a host of 80s culture. And I always turn to her and I go, do you know how many 9-year-olds know this stuff? And she goes, who? How many? I go, none. Right. 0.
Zip, nada.
I'm teaching you stuff that you will never be able to speak with your friends because they're going to look at you like I got 2 heads.
He probably does know because of
oh yeah.
But when you were a kid and what the holidays meant, and it was like, hey, who brought the wine? Pass me the bread. I gotta light my cigar. Where's my match? Come on, get over here.
They were
dinner ready.
You forgot about the pinochle.
That's after dinner, yes, of course. Who's roasting those chestnuts, damn it?
I remember, it's funny. I remember watching my family play pinochle, and all I remember about it was yelling. All I remember was yelling because you have two types of suits, if I remember correctly. There was something called trump. It was a suit, and there was something called leash.
Okay.
And you would see across the table, you threw out leash. I'm looking for Trump, and you throw out leash. What's the matter with you? That's what I remember about.
Yeah.
Pinochle.
Was that in the basement with the basement floor and the tiled floor? You had the asbestos tile floor.
Of course, with the bottle of Chianti. Remember the one with it had like a bamboo, sat in a bamboo basket.
And you put a candle in the end and it just overflowed the whole thing. And of course you had all the paneling from pergamon on the wall and
completely everything was paneled. The ceiling was paneled, the walls, the floor, everything was paneled. Right. Yeah. Sure. You had his long picnic table.
Yeah. The good old
maybe 1 or 2 chairs for the kids, but the rest of it was his long picnic table. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have a picture, and I'm not going to post it. I won't do that.
Don't.
Like I do with other stuff. But it was it was in the 70s, and I was dating a girl who was from a very Italian family.
No boy.
And the
That's strike one.
Christmas that year was in the house, and what happened? The picnic table came in, and it just got a nice tablecloth and there's benches. That was, yeah. Hey, some things never change.
My grandparents had a Christmas tree that was all silver. It was just this silver. It was almost like an aluminum tree,
Yeah.
and it had just the blue round spherical
Right.
Christmas ornaments, but they were all the same. So it was this aluminum tree with these blue, and I remember my grandmother going, "It's nice and easy. You do that nice and easy, no problem." That's how she talked too. She had that voice as well.
I was gonna say.
She had that landlord whiskey pack of Luckies cigarette type of voice.
Yes. Yes.
And they'd put the manger out. The manger always went out, and they had to pry little Jesus off the manger because he wasn't born yet. It wasn't the 25th.
Right.
He's
right.
not born yet. But everybody is staring at Joseph and Mary are all staring at nothing.
Right.
There's nothing there.
The empty. Yeah. Right. Well,
Everybody is amazed at the nothingness that's there before the 25th.
You know, that's how it goes. So anyway,
Yes.
we're gonna have a good show today. We're gonna have our
I
good
hope
friend.
so.
We're gonna have our good friend and our fact checker, our social checker on our dealings. Carl Anthony from automoblog.net on with us in just a
Carl Anthony from automotive.net. All right.
coming back in. So did you do anything automotively this week that we could
Oh my
talk-
gosh, no.
Okay, I did yesterday actually.
Tell me.
I went down to the shop because it's
I'm
always
lucky I know where the garage is. But
Yeah.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
It was time to do, I had to do an oil change and tire rotation on my wife's car on the Cruise.
Okay, good.
And it was
About time.
well, the oil change monitor was like down to 26%. And I was already like almost 1,000, not 1,000 miles over. I was overdue on the change, is what it was by my specs.
Yeah, well, your specs are 3,000 miles or 4,000
I went to
miles.
4.
Good.
And
Good,
it's like, it
good.
was like a year and a half. I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm doing it. What else I'm going to do is I'm going to answer the phone. I'm going to do
All right.
this and slide this, and I'm going to say, hi, you're on with the Motor Mouths.
Hello, Chris and Ray.
Yes, John, what's up?
Hey, John.
What you guys doing?
All right.
Yeah, we're just, sitting around shooting the breeze.
Are you guys on the air on Christmas Eve?
Yes, we are.
Oh, man.
Yes.
That's going to make my afternoon because right after that, I'm going to do the Italian fish.
All right.
Ooh, John, let me tell you. Here's the reason why we're going to be on Christmas Eve is because guys like you are going to guaranteed you're going to be chased out of the kitchen,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be. There's going to be the women in the kitchen. You're going to be sitting there with your hands in your pockets.
He does everything.
Let's get you out of the kitchen. That's exactly what we're going to do. That's why we're going to go on the air
Right.
because there's a bunch of you guys. Mhm.
Ray, I got to throw this one out, and I'll make it as short as I can. Had a spare key fob for my 2016 Ram.
Yep.
Went to unlock it with the spare key fob yesterday. Nothing. So I go, dead battery.
Right.
So I grab a brand new battery, throw it in the key fob, same thing. So now I'm
Really?
like, I take the whole thing apart. I do continuity tests on all the circuitry that I could.
Look at you.
And
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, it's got connections.
John, where did you get that spare key fob from?
It came brand new with the vehicle.
All right, I'll tell you
Oh.
what I think it is. It was never programmed.
No, it was working, probably a month ago when I used it. I just didn't have my keys in my pocket and grabbed them. I have them on a rack in the garage. Went to unlock the trunk to get something out of it and went, And I had to run upstairs into the house, get the set that I use normally.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
And-
I would try giving it a reprogram.
Well, okay, here's where I'm pulling the brain trust, and hopefully somebody will send an email into MotorMouth. But I watched a bunch of videos on, replacement key fobs, yada, yada, yada. And I get up this morning, and I'm like, I never tried to start the truck with it, and it still goes in, and you got to turn it like a conventional key, but it's reading the chip in the key fob.
Right.
So I get up, I unlock the truck with the working key fob. I get in the truck, I turn the one that's not working, starts the truck right up, no issue.
Okay.
Now I get out of the truck, and I hit the lock button, and it locked the truck.
Okay.
So it's
I don't
working
know,
there.
it just missed the spare key fob. I hadn't seen it in a while. I went, yeah, maybe we don't need this one.
Yeah. That's a little odd. I don't know what the diagnostic.
That's a lot odd. I called a buddy of mine that's got a scanner, and I said to him, I go, yeah, can you reprogram if I buy some knockoff key fob? And he goes, yeah, I could do it, but what's wrong with the other one? I go, damned if I know, but
Yeah.
That's really weird.
the fact that it started the vehicle and then it works. All the remote start works.
Actually, the start with the key is a separate function than the it's split. There's different functions that can do different things.
Because there's an RF receiver in
Correct.
the vehicle for the. I'm way familiar with that. But I just went. How did putting the key and starting the vehicle make the RF work?
Yeah, don't know. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, because I was thinking you put in a dead battery. That was the first thing I was thinking with it, but like you just by mistake.
Batteries, they were 3.2 volts. They're those little.
2016 or a 2032?
2032, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I would start looking online and see what the real experts say, because
I'm going to go on to the Dodge Ram forum, but I just figured I'd throw that one out there for you want something bizarre.
Yeah. Good.
That is a great bizarre question, because I wouldn't think they would forget.
Now, I'll tell you what, it's like what I was getting to with the Cruise. While I had the car in the shop, I wanted to look at, I told you about a week ago, the radio would just blank out on me.
Right.
And I did a little research, and they said, well, yeah, body control module. I found out where it is. It's in the console, and there's a whole story about that as well. But I used the Snap-on scanner we have at the shop, and I got in, and I tell you, man, once you see what those scanners can really do, it's scary.
God, yeah.
But I went in, I got into the body section, I got into the radio control, and I was waiting to see, pull up a trouble code. No, there were no codes in the system. Now that thing was going out, and it was going out a lot. I found nothing wrong, and I did everything I could do short of, playing with things I shouldn't be playing with. And now the radio it's working again fine, and we'll see if it doesn't. But the fact that it didn't throw a code that the scanner could pick up is curious, because maybe there's a threshold and it didn't cross, like your key, maybe, I don't know. So and this is what's going to happen to cars as they start getting. What year is your truck, John?
16.
Okay, yeah, this car is a 12. As they start getting older, these are the things that are going to start happening and coming up, and it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
We got an input from Maco Man Brian on our text line at 203-670-4127, the Maco Man text line.
Right.
He says it's possible that the key needed to be woken up to go to sleep.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So because you didn't use it, it kind of went to sleep into a hibernation.
Yeah, I would. That's an interesting thought.
I'm.
Thank you, Brian.
You're savvy,
right?
And last night I was like looking up how to reprogram the key fobs and all. Nobody had that in it.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank Matco, man.
So maybe that's the thing. When you have those two keys, use one. Get that other one into service. Get it off the bench once in a while. Let it get in the game.
Yeah.
Just to keep it active. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. You got this month off.
Yeah. Very good. Good, John.
All right, guys. I'll catch you next Sunday. Thanks. Have a great day, and I'll wait to hear Matco Man shortly.
All right, John. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Bye-bye.
And through the marvels of modern electronical mayhem, we have with us our guest, Mr. Carl Anthony, who's looking fresh and awake and like he just rolled out of bed, but he's looking How are you,
Yeah.
Carl?
Hey,
Good
Carl.
morning. Hey, good morning, fellas.
Thanks for coming on with us again. It's always a pleasure. It's even when time is close, it's always too long since we've had you on. It doesn't matter.
Carl, how long? What was the duration of time between Ray asking you to be on the show and you actually being here? What was
Oh,
it, an hour and a half?
I think we were probably maybe 16 hours or so. So it was, which is pretty. We followed tradition. So this was Ray last night at about, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock. Hey, are you available at
Yeah.
noon tomorrow? Of course, Ray.
And I'll tell you something. Of course, I thought about it last Sunday. I said, you know what? I gotta get hold of Carl this week and see if he's available. And then something in me says, whenever I do that with not just you, with many, many guests, it's too long of a period, like either for a commitment or like, I don't know. So I said, I'll wait till the middle of the week. Well, middle of the week came, that snowball started getting bigger. I'm doing 1,000 different things. Friday, I said, today I got to do it. No, Friday took me in 900 other directions. So Saturday comes, I woke up and said, okay, as soon as I get up, I'll have my coffee. And I'm going to send Carl a text. No.
Yeah.
I was at the shop working on the cruise. I went out to dinner with a few friends last night. And when I got home, I was like, oh, damn, give me that phone right now. That's it. That's how
Carl, we're
True to
waiting.
form, Ray. True to form.
Yeah.
True to form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were waiting for you to go, are you out of your mind?
Yeah. So, Carl, this was kind of cool because you're just off of a cool jaunt from the Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Tell us what you did in Greenfield Village.
Yeah. So, guys, this was just Ray. I was actually there last night when you texted me. And for our Motormouth family here, just to kind of give you a background, if you've not ever been to Michigan or you've never been, there's an area in Dearborn. It's called the Henry Ford. And there's really two aspects to it. There's the Museum of American Innovation, which is super cool.
Ooh.
And that's sort of the indoor. But they have in there, they've got historic planes. They've got full-scale historic steam locomotives that are these towering giants, cars from every era, all of the presidential cars, all of the old industrial revolution type machines, so looms that would have made clothing and things like that. Just an incredible experience. Greenfield Village is the outdoor portion of it. And sort of the history of Greenfield Village is that Henry Ford, during his life, wanted to collect these pieces of American history. He was an avid collector, and he designed Greenfield Village in a way that would reflect that. So when you walk through Greenfield Village, which is just massive, and Haggerty has their old car show there every year where they do hundreds of old cars that, even like World War I era cars that they have. But as you go through Greenfield Village, you see buildings like Henry Ford's birthplace, like the house he grew up in. There's a courthouse from Illinois that Henry Ford had moved that Abraham Lincoln practiced law in. There's all of Edison's laboratories and workshops that are there on full display. The Wright brothers family home that they had Christmas in like the late 1890s, so just a few years before they would go to Kitty Hawk and fly. Henry Ford took huge efforts to sort of import all of this American history and move all of this American history to Greenfield Village. And so that's essentially kind of the backdrop of Greenfield Village. And every year they do this festivity called Holiday Nights. It's a huge thing here in Michigan. And that's where we were at last night. My wife and I, we went with some friends, excuse me. And as part of the event, as part of the holiday night event, you can take a ride in a Model T. You just line up, you wait in line, you go around Greenfield Village. And so, Ray, when you were texting me, we were just about to get in line. And I said, this is going to be great to talk about. But
Yeah.
The Model T that we rode in last night was a 1923. So it's a 100-year-old car. And they keep all these cars preserved as part of the Henry Ford, part of Greenfield Village. these cars look fantastic for being as old as they are, but the one that we rode in was what was known as a depot hack. So train meaning depot, and then hack, a fancy word essentially for taxi. It was
Radio
basically
host.
a taxi cab version.
Oh, I thought that was
And-
a radio host version. I'm sorry.
the depot hack. Yeah, the depot hack, I believe, is on after us next year at this
Right.
time. Right.
So, Carl, for
Yeah.
the people who haven't seen, and when you told me that information in the text, I was like, wow, that is pretty cool. What was my next question to you?
Your next question to me, and I shall preface this by saying you also used an emoji with the black sunglasses on, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah.
But you asked if it was autonomous.
I
I thought that was hilarious.
Just had to give you that one. That's all. I just said, here we go.
I thought it was funny because that's initially how I started on this show, was talking about, autonomous driving back.
Well, I don't know. It was big. I don't know if that was how you started, but it was very big back then, and it was the thing that we were always talking about. So, and now fast forward to what's going on now with Tesla and
Yep.
all the lawsuits. I mean, it's funny how, I knew that this topic was going to evolve over time, and none of us knew how,
Mhm.
and I think it still is. So the beauty of it is, Carl, though, and for the people listening, the thing that I like about it the most is that you came in and were teaching us stuff about it, and you were questioning us. You wanted our opinions as well.
Truly.
But the
Yeah.
best thing is, we're still friends at the end of the whole thing. I mean, we had some disagreements and
Sure.
maybe even touched on an argument here or two, but at the end of the day, the people stay the same, and the cars, that's just the topic that we talk about. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's thank you for that, Ray and Chris, both you guys. And, I was mentioning to the friends that we were with last night, I said, this is just going to be a great topic. I mean, taking a ride in a Model T, this is Motor Mouth Radio all the way.
Oh yeah.
And one of my friends said, a show like that, a radio show like that, like, I've never listened to a show like that. And,
Mhm.
And so I said,
Neither
well,
have we.
yeah. And I said, let me I was explaining to my friend here, MotorMouth Radio. So, well, let me preface it like this. Sometimes there are answers, sometimes there are correct ones, sometimes we may have them. So let me just,
Right.
preface that out. But I was explaining to the show, I said, there are people that call in just like our gentleman before who have questions with a key fob.
Yeah.
And, the hosts of the show act as, sort of these diagnostic mechanics over the air. And I said, this radio show, I said, and other radio shows like it, car radio shows over the years have built a community for car enthusiasts to gravitate to. And, back before there was, all the digital platforms that there are now, us car guys were trying to seek out and find other car people like us. And the radio was a great way to do that. Your Sunday radio shows like this were a great way to do that. So I was explaining this to my friend last night. And I just said, I said at the end, almost exactly what you said, Ray. I said, at the end of the day, I said, it's all, the cars are great. I said, but it's about the people. I said, just kind of around, this Long Island area, this family kind of that MotorMouth Radio has built. And it's kind of fun to be over here in this part of the sandbox, just kind of,
Yeah.
causing trouble with you guys.
Chris, I tell you, we should get Carl to write a promo for us, or to write us a sizzle reel, because
I think he just did.
yeah, that's like, man, if we couldn't have a better agent. That's phenomenal. Thank you, Carl. Very good. But yeah, that's true. That's always been the common denominator. And that's, Chris and I learned that about ourselves, and other hosts that we've had. We all found out, like, hey, we were all doing the same thing, just in different places and maybe a little different ways. And,
Right.
Oh yeah, and I think that's what makes the whole show unique, Carl, is the fact that Ray does things in a complete 360 or 180 than I would do it, and yet we still get the job done, and we still we still actually like each other.
right. Some of us do that job 2 or 3 times until it's done right, though. But other times, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, but
right.
yeah, but it really is. It's nice that you can get both ends of the spectrum, wherever the spectrum is,
Right.
wherever our opinions lie, where our theories come from. But usually they're polar opposites of one another.
I tell you, the last time I was on, Ray, right about the last time I was on, which I also believe was a late Saturday evening text. So, you know, keeping true to form. But I believe the last time I was on, you were coming off of that trip with your friends, getting that car essentially in boxes.
Oh, yeah.
It was October 29th when you were on. Yeah, I come back from Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have since told that story to a handful of people, including to my friend last night who was asking, you know, about Motormouth Radio and stuff. And
so, Carl, what was the response what was your general response of this?
The general response. So to preface this, my friend who is with us lives in Michigan, but is, you know, not a car person per se. They don't work in the automotive industry. Like they know enough, and they thought, oh, you know, cool to take a ride in the, you know, and go to Greenfield Village in the Model T and all that stuff. But you know, they're not a car people, and you do have that, believe it or not, in Michigan. You do have people that are not as like crazy as us.
Yeah.
But their response was one of shock, kind of.
Really?
You know, that, you know, wow, somebody would do that. And then they were like, but I kind of get it, you know, living here in Michigan, people exhibit that kind of love for cars. I mean, it's the same reason why we have something like the Henry Ford that takes these 100-year-old Model Ts and has kept them restored for all of these years. And so I was kind of explaining, I said, you know, Ray, one of the hosts, I said, last time I was on, I said, he literally went, and I said, not bought a car, I said, but brought a car back in boxes. And I was explaining the whole thing, that it's a sense of camaraderie. You know, you jump in the truck with your friends, and you take a road trip, and you go have breakfast somewhere, and you make a memory out of it. Yes, you will eventually build the car, and you will show the car at a summer car show, you know, and all of that is amazing, and people will come up to you and they'll say, what a wonderful machine. Can you tell me about it? And you have this great story to tell people. That's why I love local car shows, because those guys and gals own those cars. They fixed them up. Sometimes they're the original owner. They still have them in Roni stickers. They'll tell you the whole history, and that's all amazing. But it's making that story along the way. It's making those memories along the way. So, Ray, I've probably told that story a number of times to people just to illustrate that point, that it's about the people, it's about creating memories, and sometimes there is no logic to it. You know, you just, you know.
And I understand. I've talked to people who don't get it. It's outside their world, but a lot of things they do are outside of my world, and I don't get it. I'll tell you this: there's a part 3 to that story. We're going back one more time.
Really?
Because the owner, the guy that sold the car, he wanted to sell other cars to my friend, and I don't think that's going to happen. But he hadn't finished, since that was a Brookwood. It was a lower level model, and all the interior trim around the doors and dash gets painted. It's not chrome. Okay. So he was in the process of prepping it and painting it, as well as the hood. So we couldn't take that stuff with us. So it could be shipped and sent. But my buddy Chris says, hey, you know what? I think I got a plan. Well, it's not only about the road trip now, it's about the things we didn't get to do on the last one. And that's when we went through Youngstown, Ohio, where Lewis Lee is and where Tyler is.
Yep.
There was that truck stop that we stopped at that we wanted to really investigate but couldn't. And then there's Summit Racing right up the road.
Right.
So the plan now is we're going to fly back to Indiana, rent a Tahoe that will fit that hood in it, and all the other extraneous little small parts. And then the drive back, we're stopping in Youngstown. We're going to see Tyler and Lewis. We're going to go to Summit. We're going to go to the truck stop.
Yep. That's
the crazy things that people will do to pass. I went to dinner with these 2 friends last night. My one buddy, John, says, Dan, dude, he goes, you're busy, and now you're doing more than when you were working. I was like, hell yeah. I said, I wouldn't have it any other way. Wouldn't have it any other way. It's, you know, because now you can do what you want to do. So this is what you waited for.
Right.
You know?
Right. You just have to be healthy enough to do it. And have
I mean,
your-
I know guys who retired and they set these sojourns to do these golfing trips to all the courses they wanted to hit, like in Hilton Head and all
Sure.
over the place. And they did that. You know, I know a few guys who have done that. Okay,
Mhm.
that's what they were into. You know, that's fine.
Right.
You know, it's all about just doing what's right. I said this. I don't know where I got this. Probably since I went to Nunley's Carousel back when I was a kid. It was a
Nunley's. Wow.
local amusement park on Sunrise Highway.
Sure.
Which is now Carousel is now outside of the station here, in Mitchell Field. But I kind of came up with that with maybe I heard it from somebody else. I don't remember. Life is like a merry-go-round ride. You know, and then you get that brass ring. You're lucky if you can get a brass ring, but you only get one trip around the merry-go-round ride
Yeah.
in this version of it, and you want to make sure that you can pack in the stuff that matters and that you want to do, because that's what it's about.
And
No,
I
it's totally right. Mhm.
and that's the thing with cars. It's that community. I think it gives people a whole sense of identity, a whole sense of purpose. And I go back to a lot of the work that Haggerty Drivers Foundation is doing.
Oh yeah.
This is part of their mission. Part of their mission with things like the National Historic Vehicle Register that they're doing with the Library of Congress is working to archive and to preserve these cars and to preserve that history. And the way the Haggerty Drivers Foundation prefaces this is by saying, look, we have similar things for buildings and architecture. We have a federal registry for stuff like that. But until Haggerty came along with the Drivers Foundation, that same type of thing didn't exist for cars. So cars like the Chrysler Turbine car and cars like the Hudson Hornet, which were Haggerty's 2 documentaries this year that they did, which are both available on YouTube for free at the Haggerty
shows.
Drivers Foundation YouTube channel. But preserving that history in the Library of Congress to say, what was the impact of these cars on American history? What was their significance? The people who were involved in designing and building these cars, in the case of the Hudson, really giving rise to things like NASCAR. In the case of the Chrysler Turbine car, something that, a combined engineering and marketing blitz where the Chrysler Corporation basically said, we're going to put X number of cars on the road. We're going to give them to the public to drive the turbine car, to get their thoughts and their feedback, but it'll be wonderful advertising. And there's a guy in the documentary, the Chrysler Turbine Car documentary by the name of Mark Olson. And when you hear Mark Olson's story about how this Chrysler Turbine car, his family was selected as part of that engineering and marketing and PR blitz in the 1960s to receive a turbine car, to drive, to put miles on it. Right. That car changed his life. And so those stories are important. And I think, Ray, like what you're saying is that's why people gravitate around cars. And I say this because, I'm an industry person. I'm here in Detroit. I'm in the industry aspect of it. But the industry aspect, the automotive industry aspect, is different than the enthusiast aspect and the collector aspect. And the thing with the industry aspect, and I say this because this happens to me, is that you can get so caught up in the day-to-day that it's your job and that it's your career and you're in strategy sessions, and you're getting into the business of automotive, which is fascinating. It's a wonderful career. I'm so thankful that I've been able to have a career in the automotive industry. But believe it or not, when you're when you're doing it like that, you can lose your passion for cars, and you can forget why you love it to begin with. So,
Sure.
Ray, like what you're saying, this is, again, going back to the Haggerty Drivers Foundation, preserving driving. We have to have a documented history for it. It's important because if you look at somebody's family photo album, right? You look at somebody's family photo album, they've got pictures in their family photo album next to a car. How many senior pictures do you see of a high school senior posing next to their car? And so there's a connection between cars and culture here in the U.S. And Ray, what you're saying, where you go back and you say, man, what an incredible trip. We got to see Lewis again. We went to this truck stop and it was a crazy trip. That's what it's all about.
There's
and
even
so,
pictures of me and by cars.
Yeah.
Always. The cars are always in those pictures, right? Because go stand in front of the car.
Right.
Well, you know what? It's great to be in the industry. Also, for us to stay in this industry, we need to take our bottom of the hour break. So we need to do that now. And I need to tell people that there's a show on this station they may be interested in. It's called Massacre by Metal. It's on this station Tuesdays at 10 p.m. Good time for hearing metal. It is a show dedicated to every type of metal music and every subgenre, including hardcore and hard rock, which takes us right to our weather, which is hard, between a hard rock and a hard place. The WHPC weather forecast is powered by Pantano's Gourmet with locations in Hewlett and Uniondale. Today, yeah, I don't know if it started raining yet. The blinds are closed. It wasn't when I came in. It's supposed to start around midday and get real heavy through the night into tomorrow. Like Rob said, it's going to be a mess. And tomorrow, it's going to continue on into at least the first half of the day, which makes people wonder, while they're sitting there in the rain with a forlorn look on their faces, if they can ponder and reflect back on an honor group of the hour. You have one for us, Professor Switzer.
That was a great intro. Yes. This week, the MotorMouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour. If you own a vehicle with over 250,000 miles on it, every time you hear a bump or a thud or a rattle in the car, is your first thought not like, oh my God, your first thought is, hey, that's a new noise. You boast that the car doesn't leak, but you have to add oil to it every Saturday morning. Did at least one door handle come off in your hand at one time or another? Does your mechanic tell you just to stop turning off the check engine light and just bring it back for them to fix it? Well, if you can be thankful you didn't have to call a tow truck this week, and hold your head high because you were part of the MotorMouth Radio Honor Group of the Hour if your car has over 250,000 miles on it.
I just saw a guy tell you at my chiropractor's office got a Chevy with like 280 on it, and
oh boy,
and it's amazing. He's got an LS in it, but it's like, he says, yeah, when it starts up, he goes, it looks like I'm having a barbecue. And, when I got it, I said, that's kind of odd for the LS, but you know what? We're going to take a little shortened break today because we want to talk more with Carl, and so we'll do that. And it's mandated. We have to do it. It's the SPCA that says it. It's the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Audiences. So we will abide by it.
It also makes this show 526% better when we take a break.
Yes. Exactly. So stick with us while we take our break with and we'll be back with more MotorMouth Radio, Ray Guarino, Chris Switzer, and Carl Anthony. And you'll hear it in a second on 90.3 WHPC. Hit it.
Loud Guns N' Roses with Axl Rose spittin'. Ozzy's black eyes and the bats that he's bitten. Big Marshall stacks and a broken E string. These are a few of my favorite things.
My name is Carl Anthony with Automoblog and AutoVision News, and you're listening to Ray and Chris on MotorMouth Radio, WHPC 90.3 FM.
Okay, Mark Warman here from Graveyard Cars, hanging out with my buddies at, what's the name of it again?
MotorMouth Radio.
Hey, Mark Warman here from Graveyard Cars, hanging out with my friends at MotorMouth Radio. Sunday morning, I don't know what this fat bald guy's laughing about. You'll forget stuff soon enough too, my friend. Be sure to listen. When are you guys on? 10 a.m.?
Sundays at noon.
Noon on Sundays.
Excellent. This was
No, you got the promo for the best one was the first one. That's why I was, because you said, what was the name of this again? That's the promo.
What better presentation could you do than that?
This show on 90.3 WHPC is brought to you by CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision, with 2 locations in Limerick and Oceanside, who remind you that New York state law says you always have the right to choose which shop will fix your car. CarStar Celebrity Chase Collision offers a full range of services: 24-hour towing between Montauk and Manhattan, shuttle service, and they can help you with a rental car arrangement if needed. All repairs include the CarStar lifetime nationwide warranty, ensuring that the experts at Celebrity Chase Collision are always on your side.
Y sí, hablamos español.
More information is available at 516-593-0920 or online at celebritychasecollision.com.
Hey, you, get over here. Every Sunday, 12 to 1, you are going to tune in to hear the Motor Mouths, my friends Ray Guarino and Chris Switzer. 90.3 FM, WHPC. You might learn something.
We like nose rings. We like eating snails.
Okay, boys.
We always
You know what we love?
indulge in our favorite names. No wonder our skins.
Jingle Hell's Bells!
Jingle Hell's Bells. That's from the from the other archive. All right, we're back. MotorMouth Radio. Chris Switzer, Ray Guarino, Carl Anthony. Those are a few of my favorite things, and we're sharing them in this holiday season.
Just taking a look at one of the texts we received, the 203-670-4127, from, of course, Joe the Undertaker. He says, not really a car guy, no tools, money, knowledge, but my input is what happened to my cars. That's how you give me the tag, the Undertaker. He says he listens to improve his knowledge.
Joe
He listens to this show.
Joe's been listening to this show longer than I've been on this show.
Yes, he has.
He's an
Joe
OG
is one
right there.
He is one of our longest
Yeah.
listeners.
Every
Yeah.
once in a while, we have correct answers. I mean, that's the Motor Mouth way.
Right? You got it. You picked up.
It's the truth. I always said, Carl, this show taught me more than gave me more knowledge than the knowledge that I've actually dispensed. And I'm grateful for that.
Absolutely.
Very much so. And I love to be corrected by Ray.
Well, we try.
It's part of his charm.
Well, you know, the listeners do too, and they can, of course, they can call at 516-572-7440 or check us out on social media, MotorMouth Radio on everything except Instagram, which is real_MotorMouth Radio, and also MotorMouth Video, where this show will be up later on this afternoon, so people can watch it. We got to get you know, I've never wanted to be the guy to say it, but when you go on there, like and subscribe. You know, we need some subscribers, and the likes always help move things along. We're like Nowheresville with that stuff, but it'd be nice. So I don't know. Maybe it would be nice. Maybe I regret what I asked. You know, I always be careful what I ask for because I might get it, and
right, you may be unfortunate enough to get it. That's true.
Exactly.
No, I'm a big fan. Like and subscribe. If I like something, I will like it and I will subscribe to it. So
I do too.
Yeah.
Carl, how many YouTube subscriptions do you have?
So same thing with us. If I can just do the plug, like and subscribe for Automoblog on YouTube. We're about 2,300 subscribers.
Okay. Nice.
And we have just been doing it organically, slowly but surely, you know, putting out videos, mostly vehicle overviews and product review type videos. And with that game on YouTube, the way we've kind of looked at it is we've just said, you know what, we're just going to keep posting videos. We're just going to keep doing our thing, just like we did on the website. We'll just keep posting good articles. We'll just keep posting content. The audience will come. The audience will eventually be there. But yeah, we would love to have you on YouTube as well. It's just Automoblog. You'll see our little logo, the A and the B logo. And yeah, so I think it's a slow climb.
Yeah, well, listen, we're doing the same thing. We figure that, you know, if we persevere and stay long enough, which we have so far, you know, and the history of the show, I don't want to make a statistical thing out of it, but you know, we've seen ups and downs. It's been very sinusoidal over the years, the way things happen, and who knows why? I don't know why. It's above my pay grade. You know, there's times where you think things should be booming and they're not, and other times there's like, you know, people climb out of the wall. So who knows? So we just keep doing it every week, and like you said, we just go from there.
And unlike MotorMouth Radio, the quality of automoblog.net is very good.
Absolutely.
I must admit, I do casually go to that site at times and enjoy the articles and like to see the content change, and the pictures are great. Carl, you really put 110% into that website, and I recommend it highly when it comes down to an automotive overview of what's going on. Like, you really have your finger on the pulse. And a lot of times I don't have the time to go venture out. Like, Ray can watch every single YouTube video, all minutia, how to use a paperclip to fix every single automotive ailment.
Paperclip video.
I need my information concise, and a lot of times, automoblog.net is the place to go.
Well, thank you,
So,
fellas. And
yeah.
I can't take credit for all of it.
Yes, you can.
And Tony Boraz, I don't know where this man finds all this historic stuff. I love the pictures he comes up with these the cars from the 50s and the futuristic stuff. Man, I don't know. He's a wealth of just information with that in that genre, and I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, you taking any time off during the holidays? You're gonna take your wife and go somewhere?
Yes. In fact, I actually plan to take the week between Christmas and New Year's off. I plan to just completely unplug and kind of get away from everything.
Good for you.
We are not doing any traveling. We're actually going to stay close to the Detroit area, but we're going to do some things kind of around here, like a Greenfield Village. We're going to actually go back to the museum, the American Museum of Innovation. So we're going to kind of just take some time to go see kind of some sites around the Detroit area that we haven't. We'd like to go back to the Detroit Institute of Art and, take a walk through there. We'd like to go back downtown to the riverfront again. Just so we're going to stay close to home for the holidays, but I'm definitely unplugging. I'm definitely taking some time off, and then we'll get back to it, after the first of the year. But
I'll tell you this. I just started a new kind of sidecar gig doing car inspections for a company.
Sure.
And a friend of the show had asked me if the company had an agent in Chicago. I said, I don't know, but I'll find out. And I asked, and they said, yeah, we do. So I said, too bad. I said, because I was hoping you'd send me. I'd love to see the area. I really do. It's one of the places I want to see in my life. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chicago's probably a great area. I would love. I've driven through it and was like a tourist. That was as far as I got through Chicago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like when on trips to Chicago, I like Navy Pier, which is very, very cool. The Centennial Wheel on Navy Pier, and then right over there is Shed Aquarium is right in that neighborhood too. Soldier Field's in that neighborhood too, where the Chicago Bears play. And then there's a museum there, and it escapes me. And somebody in our MotorMouth Radio family probably knows who's been to Chicago. It's a huge museum of like innovation and history. The name of it escapes me. That's a really cool area there. And then I always go every year to the McCormick Place, which is where the Chicago Auto Show is, which is just one of the most amazing auto shows I've ever seen. It's the largest in the world by just, I guess, land mass, if you will, just by area, because the McCormick Place is so huge. But Chicago Auto Show is just one of the neatest events I've ever been to. So I do get some time in Chicago. Really, really cool city. Really cool city. Kind of like Detroit or Cleveland. It kind of has that gritty Midwestern backdrop to it, and there's a certain allure and charm to that, I think.
Yeah. But Carl, I want to drive really fast on Lower Wacker Drive.
Yes.
That is a bucket list thing.
Yeah, I hear that.
I want to get a Dodge Polara, and I want to go really fast under that elevated.
You got the C body.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Ain't it black and white?
No one will know. No one will tell the difference.
Here in Detroit, that would be the equivalent of the Lodge. So the Lodge is or Woodward Avenue. So this is where these alluring stories in Detroit come from, like that Black Ghost Challenger. So Dodge did for the final anniversary of the gasoline, Charger and Challenger, right? They did one of the limited edition Challengers they did. One of them was a Black Ghost edition named after Godfrey Qualls, his infamous 1970 Dodge Charger Black Ghost that would show up at these locales in Detroit back in the day, Telegraph Road, Woodward Avenue, and would just blow the doors off the competition, drag racing, and then just disappear, just leave. You wouldn't see him again for weeks or months on end, which earned the nickname the Black Ghost. Well, come to find out, and there's interesting history on this now, but
I've been reading up on it. Do tell.
Yeah. Godfrey Qualls was a Detroit police officer.
Right.
That's the interesting thing. And so all of the legends and all of the, just as we do in Detroit, where, there's history, but then it's always surrounded by clandestine stuff like the development of the Mustang. There's always a story behind the history. But the idea was, well, that kind of explains how Godfrey Qualls maybe got away with, drag racing like that and never getting caught because he knew where the police patrols would be and stuff like that. So it's this whole story. And if memory serves, I think Haggerty has that car again, same kind of thing.
They did
in the National Historic Vehicle Registry for its essentially contributions like that. So, again, now we're back to the stories and the myths and the legends about cars,
they did a big piece in the magazine about it too. But one of our show guests who we've had on and friends, Uncle Tony DeFeo.
Yes.
Uncle Tony's Garage on YouTube. He debunked the whole black ghost thing.
His theory.
Did
right.
he?
Based on the way the car is built and the mechanicals in that vehicle. That Tony is a Chrysler expert. He's been into Chrysler for a long time. And he went through it piece by piece. He goes, I know. He goes, I'm going to get flamed for this. People are going to hate me. He goes, but I'm going to tell you what I think.
Really?
So, yeah, go to UTG, Uncle Tony's Garage. It's he did it. I don't know. Maybe it's within the last year.
Yes, it's definitely a piece worth watching to counterbalance the story and the myth of the Black Ghost. But what I remember as a kid growing up was there were articles about small block dusters and demons at the time beating the heck out of Hemi Challengers, and there was a problem with this, like Chrysler was having issues with this, where the Challengers were just too big and the engines were a little too cumbersome, where the small blocks were more economical and were able to really outrun them. And I remember reading those articles. So when I saw the Black Ghost, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So Ray, you introduced me to Marty Shore, veteran automotive journalist Marty Shore, who wrote the book Day One. And Marty Shore is just like amazing. Car Guy Chronicles, I believe, is his publication now. But
and a very good one.
And
a very good
one. Today, in fact, every Sunday he has a new one.
Yeah.
Marty Shore was telling me that. So same kind of thing, like this elusive history. Like, yes, there's some fact here, but there's a lot of story. But back in the day, Marty Shore in the mid 80s was doing East Coast public relations for Buick. And right at the time, Buick had the Grand National in the mid 80s, this V6 muscle car. Well, everybody over at Chevy was, hot for the Corvette, and GM was hot for the Corvette because it was the car, right? Except that the Grand National was blowing the doors off the Corvette. And so Marty Shore told this story that, again, and even he said, he goes, there's truth to this. He said, but he goes, here's kind of how the story goes. Somebody in Buick had made these bumper stickers for the Buick Grand National that said, we brake for Corvettes.
Yes.
And it infuriated, as the story goes, it infuriated everybody at General Motors and infuriated everybody at Chevy. So now people go a step farther with that. They say, well, that was the reason why the Grand National ended. It was only available for 2 or 3 years there for a time, because GM favored the Corvette and stuff like that. There's all those little stories like that I think do have a nugget of truth to them. I do think that, probably the Buick Grand National was probably a better car than the Corvette, but the Corvette was faster, but the Corvette had more of a legacy to it at the time and had more of a history. And it was sort of, it was the starting quarterback of the lineup that GM was
right.
Go with.
Good way of putting it.
Yeah. So even though you had maybe a better player over here, so it's just, it's interesting. And there's all kinds of stories like that.
It's funny you mention Uncle Marty because I read a lot of old magazines. I'm going through this trove of old supercar and stock magazines that Marty wrote, and Joe Oldham is in there, Fred Macarat, Marty will write a story. And now knowing him now and reading what he wrote some 50 years plus earlier, I can see it's the same guy, and I can see how he got his reputation because I'm reading the early stuff. And I'm saying, yeah, that was in there all the time. Those guys were tough. They were tough. Yeah. They called it like it was.
And when he told me the story of high performance cars, when I had first met him, and he said, he goes, there were other automotive publications that were kind of more, he called it West Coast kind of style. He said, so he goes, we were an East Coast publication. He said, so we didn't have, he goes, we didn't have the same level of poise. He said, we took our East Coast attitude, he said, and we put it into our writing. So when they would tank a car and the manufacturer would say, hey, these West Coast publications loved our car. Well, Joel Oldham and Marty Shore was like, that's great. Maybe you should build a better car.
Oldham with the AMC, with the Jaguar, the wheel fell off.
Where the wheel fell off.
And he said, you're not going to print that. And he printed the picture. And Marty told the story in the show where the president of AMC called him, and he didn't take the first call. He took the second one, and the guy was reaming him out. And Marty said, hey, I talked to my guy. This is what happened. This is what we wrote. This is what we printed. That's the picture we ran. If you don't like it, well, they obviously lost that advertising. He said, sure, get somebody else. Because if you don't like it, that's tough. We're telling the people the way it is.
Right. Go build a better car.
Was essentially what Marty Short told him. And he used that thing. He said, literally, he goes, guys on the West Coast, they were doing their thing. He said, but us East Coasters, he said, we didn't have that same view towards cars. And he used, I believe Marty Shore, when I had interviewed him for the article I wrote, he said, he goes, every car we had, he said, we beat the tar out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And we did so deliberately. He said, and the cars that withstood that, he said, we wrote accordingly that it withstood that. The cars that didn't, and I think he used the AMC example.
I'll tell you, we're keeping that alive because with a job I just did a week or so ago, I was speaking with the woman who owns this company, and we were talking about the details and all this because there's two other fellows that did it, that friends of mine. She goes, I love you guys. You three got my three amigos of New York. You guys, you're so unique out of anybody in the country. And so we started talking about, well, what would happen, how car owners are different. There's some that want to hang over your shoulders, some will leave you alone. And she says, I guess you'll figure out how to handle that when it happens. I'm like, no, I know already how I'm going to handle it. I said, I'll tell the guy, listen, I'm here to do a job. If you want me to do my job and do it right, back off.
Right.
I told her, I said, now this goes through different levels. We start very polite and very nice. I said, and then we ramp it up like exponentially 3 levels. And she says, I love you, New York guys. You have such an attitude. I'm like, I said, people don't, respect it. That's it. I said, you'll be getting a note from me saying, couldn't do the job.
Right. Owner was in my face. Could not do job.
Yeah, right.
Get out of my face. Hey.
One of my favorite articles, Carl, is of Joe Oldham. He did a road test on one of the 7 Hemi Cuda convertibles.
Right.
And we're talking about $1 million car now, million plus.
Yeah.
And he beat the bejesus out of it and puked the transmission multiple times. And he wrote about how much of a dog it was. And I remember reading that article in the early 70s and going, oh, wow, what a piece of junk.
Yeah.
So when you
guys, we got to wrap because it's late.
Okay.
Kim has to come in. She hasn't come in yet, but she will. Carl, we're of course looking forward to having you again on this show many times in the new year.
Yes.
Maybe we'll kick it off in the early months. We'll get you back in, and we'll talk about the predictions for 2024. We'll see where we're going to go.
Absolutely.
What you guys are doing. So just we're on a short fuse, so we can talk for another couple of minutes till Kim comes. I'm surprised she's not in here. Come on in here, Kim. Your show's going to be on. 3 minutes.
Would love to.
Let's say my prediction for 2024 is Tesla will recall every vehicle. Wait.
And I still expect, if I'm on in 2024, Ray, I still expect the Saturday evening text. So I don't. It would be weird after all these years if you started texting or emailing midweek asking me to be on the show. That would be strange. So.
Carl, wasn't there a time where like Ray actually texted you in advance and it didn't work out? Like actually, you said yes.
There was. He did. He texted me like on a Tuesday or like really early.
Yeah.
And I was like, actually, I'm out of town at a conference. It was the one Sunday I couldn't do it. So usually if Ray texts me at the last minute, I'm available. But if he tries to like plan things out, I'm not. So,
All right. So what we plan on doing is listening to Thunder Road, the best of Springsteen, the band with Kim Tracy coming in next. And we'll be back next week. We'll be here Christmas Eve day and we'll do our show.
Yes, we will. Because every man Every man's going to be chased out of the kitchen.
Right. Carl, we wish all the best to you and your family through the holiday season and into next year. And like I said, we'll pick it right up where we left off again.
Likewise, guys. Merry Christmas. Thank you for having me this year. Merry Christmas to everybody listening in MotorMouth Radio land. Thank you for your support. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you all.
Chris, what do we say to the people waiting for me outside?
Don't follow us home and check out omablog.net.
Got it. All right, fellas. We'll see you next week. We'll be back with more MotorMouth Radio. Ray Guarino, Chris Switzer, and for Carl Anthony, we sign off today saying we'll see you next week. 90.3 WHPC. See ya.
See you, bye.